Hey guys, my name's Ravi Sharma and I'm the founder and buyer's agent here at Search Property. Thank you so much for joining me on yet another episode of Search Property TV. Today's episode is about what is a dual property portfolio. Now, this is a good time to actually go down, hit the subscribe button and smash the like button because the YouTube algorithm will help us get this video out to more people that need to hear this. Now, dual property portfolio, I'm not sure if anyone else talks about this or if this is actually something that people know about, but this is how I like to class my portfolio and is what I'm doing with clients. And it really is about attaching cash flow properties with capital growth properties. Now, what I mean by that is we've always traditionally held that belief that capital growth properties is the holy grail. That's the properties you want. They're the blue chip properties, and that's where you're going to get long-term growth. You can hold them for years and years, and apparently they double every 7 to 10 years. Now, that's traditionally speaking. That doesn't work anymore, especially with how banking lending conditions for lending criteria has changed a lot. So what we need to now do in order to build a large portfolio, enough to give us financial freedom, is really attaching capital growth properties with cash flow properties, and hence the dual property portfolio was born. Now, for me personally, this was very important for moving from 1 or 2 properties into getting into 6, 7, 8, and now 12 properties as I hold. It really is important to understand how banks look at giving you credit and giving you loans, because ultimately you are only going to be able to grow as fast as the banks are able to give you a loan. So with looking at blue chip properties, we're really looking at areas that are fundamentally growing at 5, 6, 7, even in some cases 10% per year annually. And of course, if you're holding an asset value of $1 million and that happens to experience 10% of growth every year, compounding, that's $100,000 of equity growth every single year compounding, which is amazing. However, when we're looking at this portfolio and we're looking at these blue chip properties, we need to figure out if we can actually hold these properties. So when we look at a person average earning say $50,000, $60,000, if they purchase one blue chip property that sets them back $200 a week, that's taking $200 out of your pocket every single week to hold that property. Now, if that's the case, how many could you actually hold before you run out of money? Now, of course, in any case, you've got to understand that your situation is different to everyone else's, and we don't provide financial advice. So, disclaimer, this is not financial advice. It's purely my opinion. And of course, we're looking at different strategies, different tactics in general. And if you do require specific information for your situation, then do book a strategy call down below, and I think we can help out and at least point you in the right direction. Now, when we're looking at these blue chip properties and they cost you $200 a week to hold, if you only have $400 to play around with, well, from a cash flow perspective, you can only ever hold 2 until your income grows and there's other things that change in your life. However, the banks don't look at it this way, and they'll actually put buffers in, which means that you actually can't even afford that, so you'll probably end up with just one property. When we're looking at flipping across and you come to the cash flow side, you've probably got a property that's giving you about $200 in income every single week. So imagine holding 5 of these. If you could hold 5 cash flow properties that gives you $200 every single week, that's $1,000 a week. That's like a whole nother person working and that income coming through. Of course, you've got other costs like your interest repayments, your mortgage holding costs, your rates and insurance payments. Of course, those are taken into consideration, but when we're looking at cash flow properties, we're looking at positive cash flow after paying for all of that. So imagine we purchase an asset that we know is going to grow in value. We are paying down the loan, but also we're able to generate, say, $200 extra per property. Now, that's a completely different situation to the blue chip capital growth property. So if that were the case, why doesn't everyone just go and buy these cash flow properties? The reason for that is because generally these are not growing as quick as, say, the capital growth blue chip property. So why don't we just go out and buy all these cash flow properties and don't worry about capital growth? Well, the reason for that is because you're going to need both to actually grow a sustainable portfolio that's actually going to grow long term and allow you financial freedom, but also enables you to get there quicker. So when we're looking at, say, cash flow properties and just having them in your portfolio, you'll be able to generate a lot of cash flow, but it will take you longer to actually build up enough deposits, enough equity in those properties to actually go and, say, purchase multiple more properties, right? Whereas if you flip over to the capital growth only side, we're looking at, you can be generating all this equity, but you can't actually access it because the banks won't give you a loan because your cash flow is negative. So that's where, if you are able to get a cash flow property and get a capital growth property as two linked, and I'm not saying physically linked because they could be in totally different locations. I'm talking about when you are out there creating a roadmap, you sit down with us having a strategy session, we're looking at building a framework and looking at what exactly do you need to purchase to get you from point A to point B. It's a roadmap. It's literally going, these are my next 5 purchases and this is what that will mean for me. When we're doing that with you, we're looking at educating you and mentoring you about going, okay, when we're looking at capital growth, these are the numbers we need to look for. And that's, of course, a buyer's agency service we provide. So we go out there and do the hunting for you. When we're looking at cash flow properties, we're also doing the same thing because we're not looking at mining towns. We're not looking at areas that, yes, on paper look amazing and give you great returns on cash flow. But when we actually look at the fundamentals, we're realizing that the cash flow means nothing if you've got to have repairs, maintenance, and the actual area is losing population, people are migrating out, there's no jobs in the area. So we look at those fundamentals, especially when we're looking at properties for our clients, for both capital growth and for cash flow properties. Now, the holy grail is the unicorn property, which again, everyone will search for. It's very hard to find, but when you find them, you go all in as soon as you can. And that's the property that gives you both capital growth and cash flow. They're very rare. And that's where it's about understanding that instead of me searching for years and years for this one unicorn property that chances are everyone else has their eyes on as well, you'd rather go out there and build a property portfolio that has both cash flow specific properties and capital growth properties. At the end of the day, you can't just retire on equity, you can never touch it, but you could also can't build a large portfolio very quickly if you just rely on cash flow. And that's where a dual property portfolio is exactly what you need when it comes to building wealth through real estate investing. And that's exactly what I've done. I've looked at properties that I know did not provide me amazing cash flow up front, but I knew had served a purpose in my portfolio. Today, it still gives me an amazing amount of growth, and the equity I generate from there allows me to keep purchasing these cash flow properties. Because at the end of the day, if I don't look at selling any of these properties, I'm going to retire on the rent. And that's similar for you to understand that traditionally, the way our parents thought, our random uncle that decides to tell us his advice even when we don't ask for it, they're all telling us that we should go for these capital growth properties, buy a property in Sydney because it's always going to go up. The truth is it doesn't do that. And I feel like if you haven't seen that video, you should go check it out. I've actually looked at the areas to best invest. Well, the best areas to invest in 2020, and Sydney's not on my list. And the reason for that is because I feel like there's going to be a slowdown. But of course, I don't want to ruin that video for you. I hope you've enjoyed this video. And if you have, a thumbs up would be amazing. A subscribe would be even better and will allow the YouTube algorithm to spread the word. People need to hear this sort of stuff. We didn't get taught this in school. So I urge you to do the right thing, to share it amongst your friends. And if you actually got a lot of value out of this, to actually spread the word. Now, in terms of your unique situation, how we can help you as a buyer's agency, as a mentoring company, as a property coach, I'm really trying to educate you as much as I can. The videos on this YouTube channel are all for educational purposes. Of course, if we want to talk about your situation, about how we can specifically help you, there's a link in the description below. Go down, scroll down. If you're looking on your mobile, if you're looking on your laptop, it doesn't matter. Look at the link, book in a strategy call. That's where we can talk about your roadmap and how do we build you for success. I'll catch you guys all in the next video. Thanks, guys.